Okay, good morning, everyone. I call the February 11th, 2025 meeting of the DuPage County Board to order. I invite everyone to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Member Rutledge, would you please lead the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I now invite Dr. James Shannon, pastor of the People's Community Church in Glen Ellen, to lead us in the invocation.
Thank you, Chairman, and to the official board. I bring you greetings from People's Community Church, which is located at 670 South Lambert Road in Glen Ellen. And I would invite you, before you go to heaven, stop by People's. Let us pray. We come today, O Heavenly Father, to ask your blessings upon this county board. We come to acknowledge that you are the one that put all boards and all governments in place. There is no government anywhere that you have not given the power to govern. We come today to let this world know that those who resist the government will resist you, and punishment will follow. This government has been put in place by God to carry out his missions. You established the habitations of every nation on the earth. Lord, we come now to ask your help with this board as they make decisions that will build the beloved community in our presence to make all people groups to feel safe. Now let judgment run down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Okay, Mr. Deputy Clerk, please take the roll.
Cahill. Here. Childress.
Yes.
Covert.
Here.
Desart. Here. Eckhoff. Here. Evans.
Here.
Galassi. Here. Garcia.
Here.
Heder.
Here.
Honig. Here. Krajewski. Here. LaPlante. Here. Ozog. Here. Rutledge. Here. Schwarzy. Here. Tornatori. Here. You.
Here.
And Zay.
Okay, this morning we have our first proclamation is for Black History Month, and I would like to invite Tonya Franklin, Michael Childress, Michelle Pedkova, and Emily O'Brien to the podium. Okay. In honor of Black History Month, we are joined by staff from the DuPage County Historical Museum as their Black Trailblazers exhibit celebrates those who created change by breaking down barriers. Visitors to the exhibit will learn about several African Americans who fought to shape the world in which they lived in areas of art, education, sports, and civil rights. The exhibit was created by Michael Childress and Emily O'Brien, who are here. It also features the accomplishments of Olympian track and field champion Tony Franklin, who began her record-breaking career at Downers Grove South High School. Tony's mother, Tanya, is here to help us promote the exhibit and celebrate Black History Month. Whereas the month of February is celebrated as National Black History Month, recognizing the heritage and achievements of African Americans. And whereas the annual event gives residents the chance to commemorate the contributions of African Americans have made and continue to make that are an integral part of our society. And whereas the event began as a week-long celebration in 1926, created by historian Carter G. Woodson, and another prominent African Americans who raise awareness of African Americans' contributions to civilization. Whereas the celebration was expanded to a month in 1976 during the nation's bicentennial, and President Gerald Ford urged Americans to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. Whereas, as we recognize Black History Month, we highlight the DuPage County Historical Museum's Black Trailblazers exhibit, which celebrates those who created change by breaking down barriers, including Downers Grove South athlete and Olympian Tony Franklin, the first American woman to ever medal in a triple jump as a world athlete at a World Athletic Championship. And whereas museum visitors will learn about African Americans like Tony Franklin, whose contributions shape our world in areas of sports, art, education, business, and civil rights. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Deborah A. Conroy, Chair of the DuPage County Board, and members of the County Board do hereby recognize February as National Black History Month and encourage all to visit the DuPage County Board, the DuPage County Historical Museum, to learn more about the many contributions of African Americans to our country, to our county, our state, and our nation. Enacted the 11th day of February 2025 in Wheaton, Illinois. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you. It is truly an honor to accept this proclamation on behalf of residents of DuPage County. At the museum, our mission is to preserve, educate, and engage with our community through the rich history of DuPage County. The Black Trailblazers exhibit celebrates local leaders in DuPage County's Black community whose remarkable contributions in education, sports, civil rights, and the arts have shaped our community and continue to impact us today. In this exhibit, we highlight the lives and legacies of individuals whose achievements have left an indelible mark on DuPage County, from groundbreaking educators and advocates for civil rights to athletes who have set records and artists who have reshaped the cultural landscape. Black Trailblazers shines a light on the individual stories who may have been overlooked, but whose influence has been transformative. This exhibit is not just a one-time event. It will be an ongoing annual opportunity for us to work collaboratively with the Black community. Together we will grow, research, and highlight the stories of Black history in DuPage County. As we continue to expand this exhibit, our goal is to ensure that Black history is preserved and shared in ways that are not only accurate, but accessible and informative to all. Many individuals have contributed to this project, and I'd like to offer a special thank you to a few. County Board Member Michael Childress, Olympic athlete Tori Franklin and her mother, Tanya Franklin, and the various historical museums and societies in DuPage County who have helped in researching and loaning artifacts for this exhibit. Their support has been invaluable. Once again, thank you for this honor. We invite you to visit the museum to experience this exhibit, which will be on display through the month of February, and we look forward to welcoming you. Tanya Franklin, Tori Franklin's mother, is here, and she would like to say a few words, so I will let her up next.
Good morning, and I am here with my mother. Come on over. Wait, Mom goes to every track meet. She has to be here as well. And I just want to say that it is an honor to be here to represent Tori, who is currently in Greece, and I look forward to going to the exhibit after I leave here. Thank you.
Okay, now we have a proclamation recognizing National 211 Day. I'd like to invite Member Greg Schwarzy, Mary Keating, Christina LePage, Molly Howey's son, and Gina Stratford, Ahmed, and Kathleen McNamara to the podium. Okay. National 211 Day celebrates the work of the 211 call centers answering daily when the community needs it most. 211 answers 1.5 million calls annually for health and human service information. In Illinois, 211 operators answer more than 150,000 calls per year. We recognize National 211 Day here in DuPage and have invited Human Services Committee Chairman Greg Schwarzy, representatives of the DuPage 211 Advisory Board, our Community Services, Mary Keating, and administrators Gina Strafford Ahmed to accept this proclamation. Okay. Whereas DuPage County has been dedicated to supporting its residents since 1839, and whereas the critical service 211 DuPage, which has launched by DuPage County on November 15, 2022, is open and available for everyone in DuPage County, Illinois. And whereas 211 is a free, confidential, and easy-to-remember helpline that connects people in need to a range of essential health and human services and reduces non-emergency calls to 911. And whereas 211 enables the DuPage County residents to get connected to help 24 hours a day, every day of the year by phone, email, text, and website, regardless of the language they may speak. And whereas 211 navigators are trained specialists who will listen, identify underlying issues, and connect people to available programs and resources. And whereas since its launch, 211 has made thousands of connections from all areas of DuPage County for help with housing and shelter, utilities, food, mental health, and more, including more than 13,500 phone calls and 183,000 website sessions on 211dupage.gov. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Deborah A. Conroy, Chair of the DuPage County Board, and members of the County Board do hereby proclaim February 11th, 2025 as 211 Day in DuPage County and encourage everyone to become aware of the services provided by 211. Enacted the 11th day of February 2025 in Wheaton, Illinois. All in favor? Aye. You guys are just too quick.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment to express my sincere gratitude for the invaluable service provided by our 211 social service hotline. You know, the team is a true lifeline, offering assistance and support to those who need it the most. Thank you for being there with compassion, resources, and guidance, especially during challenging times. The work you guys do truly makes a difference, and I am incredibly thankful for your dedication. So I'm going to turn this over to Kathleen McNamara.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Kathleen McNamara, and I am a social worker who's been practicing in DuPage County, providing direct service for 27 years. With the Village of Carroll Stream. And I'm happy to tell you that the 211 program is a game changer. I know personally that folks that we have referred to this valuable resource line are getting, excuse me, really timely and detailed information to help address their needs. And what we're seeing in the field is an increasing need, and we're seeing folks learn more and more about 211 and are using it. So thank you to the board, Chairwoman Conroy, for your leadership on bringing this to DuPage County, because there are folks in need, for sure. And finally, I would just like to say that the community services staff is doing an amazing job answering those calls. And some of those calls aren't easy. They take research and knowledge, and we are blessed to have such a wonderful staff doing this important work. Thank you.
On the matter of public comment, according to our county board rules, members of the public shall be afforded time to address the board. Individual remarks shall not exceed 3 minutes, and the total length 30. Our first speaker is
Anthony Hyde. Does he want to go second?
Good morning. My name is Anthony Hyde, and Henry.
Anthony. Yeah.
My name
There you go.
My name is Anthony Hyde, and Henry Hyde was my father. He was my hero, and no matter how you vote today, nothing will ever change that. The chair and others in this room have stated the reason you want to remove his name from the Judicial Center is because of his position on abortion, and in particular the Hyde Amendment, which bars federal funding for abortions with the exception of cases of rape, incest, and in the life of the mother when she's in danger. Please believe me when I say I can empathize with your position, but also understand that my father was more than just a one-note politician. My father was a statesman for this country. He advocated for those in need, both locally, nationally, and globally. And frankly, this resolution tells me that you really don't understand who my father was and what he did to not only to make DuPage County a better place to call home, but also our nation and the world. Regarding social issues, Henry Hyde not only cared about the abortion issue, but he also cared about many other things, such as Head Start. He was an advocate for Head Start, a federal program that provided support for early childhood education, health, and nutrition services for low-income families. And while he was conservative and a strong voice for the pro-life movement, he also understood the need for government to provide help after a child was born. He was a pragmatic person. His overall legislative record demonstrated a nuanced approach to governing. Not only was he a supporter of Head Start, but he was also a strong advocate for adoption programs and for a means to strengthen families. He was also a strong proponent of tax breaks and incentives for working families. As chairman of the House International Relations Committee, he played a significant role in shaping and supporting the President's emergency plan for AIDS relief, known as PEPFAR, one of the most important global health initiatives launched by the United States. PEPFAR was a groundbreaking effort to combat the global HIV/AIDS epidemic, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. My father co-sponsored and shepherded this bipartisan legislation, working across party aisles to ensure passage, recognizing the urgency of the global HIV/AIDS crisis. His ability to build coalitions among conservatives and liberals was crucial in advancing the legislation. He framed his support for PEPFAR in moral and humanitarian terms, viewing it as an ethical obligation of the United States to help save lives and alleviate suffering. PEPFAR is widely regarded as the most successful global health initiative, credited with saving millions of lives. As chair of the House Judiciary Committee, my father took strong stances on law and order issues. However, he also understood the social factors that led to crime and that led to crime and supported measures that provided community-based prevention assistance. He played a key role in the passage of the federal assault weapons ban as part of the broader Violent Crime Control Law Enforcement Act of 1994. The legislation was in effect for 10 years and prohibited the manufacture and transfer and possession of certain semi-automatic firearms defined as assault weapons. His vote in favor of the ban was significant because it went against the National Rifle Association and his Republican Party's mainstream stance. He justified his support by emphasizing the need to reduce gun violence and address public safety. He viewed assault weapons as unnecessary for civilian use and believed that restricting access to such firearms was a reasonable measure to protect all of us. His vote was politically risky. It drew a great deal of criticism from gun rights advocates, including the NRA. Nevertheless, my father stood by his belief, framing it as a moral choice aimed at reducing violence. His support for the ban demonstrated his willingness to break ranks with his party when he believed it was necessary. My father was a skilled legislator who knew how to navigate bipartisan politics. While he maintained staunch positions on issues like abortion, he repeatedly demonstrated a willingness to engage when it came to doing the right thing. That willingness made him a respected figure on both sides of the aisle, especially among those who strongly disagreed with his conservative beliefs. When the time comes to vote on this resolution, I ask that you consider who my father was broadly and not zero in on just one particular issue that you may be on the opposite side of. My father didn't do anything to deserve being canceled, and that's what this resolution aims to do. It's an attempt to erase and rewrite history. As elected officials, you have to be better than that. You have to be better than that. DuPage County is a wonderful place to call home, and my father played a significant role in making it so. So please vote no. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. And out of respect for the family, we extended the 3 minutes for Anthony, but going forwards, the time will be 3 minutes.
Lucille Zuccaro.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity of addressing this board today. Buildings and statues are named for great men and women because these individuals, for many reasons, deserve that honor. Not for just one reason or cause they support it, but for a lifetime of service on behalf of the American people and their constituents. Henry Hyde served in World War II as a naval commander and was a decorated veteran. I feel there is some misconception to why the Hyde Judicial Building was named after Congressman Hyde. I'm here today to hopefully and to try to straighten that out. I am sure every one of us in this room have traveled I-355. Well, we can probably thank Congressman Hyde and Chairman Knupfer for that pleasure. They saw the future needs of the area and the need to expand Route 53. Also, the homes that flooded along Salt Creek do not flood anymore because of the efforts of Congressman Hyde, who urged FEMA and the Corps of Engineers to bring hundreds of millions of dollars to DuPage County to fix that problem. Hence the reservoirs that we see today along the creek. And the Brady Bill. Congressman Hyde once again broke party lines, voting for the Democrats to ban assault weapons. House Bill 6099 ensures that women seeking abortion are fully informed without taking away their personal right to choose. Though referred to as the Congressman Hyde's bill, the original was written by Representative Silvio Conti. Also, one of the quirks of the Hyde's amendment to that is a rider to an annual appropriation bill, which means it is not a permanent bill and can be reviewed by Congress each year and can be changed or dropped completely, putting the onus of responsibility to change that bill on Congress. And that's been there since 1996. Congressman Hyde had very pro-family values and also a strong supporter of the Family Leave Act. One of his favorite projects was to help give a voice to those who don't have a voice often. and he championed for children and adults with disabilities and obtained funding for children and families with special needs. Do not make judgment at just one thing. Look at what Congressman Hyde has done throughout his career and what brought DuPage County to where it is today, or at least helped bring DuPage County, which you are all doing at this point. He
you're
made
at 3
difficult
minutes. If you
decisions
could
in the
please wrap
best
up.
interest of all of us, giving us a better life and a better DuPage County. I sincerely wish you reconsider this resolution before you today and remember history and how far DuPage County has come, and strive to always make tomorrow a better place for all of us to live. And I thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Bobby Slinger.
It's Bobby Joe Slinger of Wheaton. I'm here to comment on the Henry Hyde resolution. I'm asking the county board to provide additional information that states the rationale for their action today. It seems we expect county officials to address pressing issues and challenges facing our citizens. We expect a clear definition of a problem, a variety of recommended solutions, and why a particular solution was chosen to best solve that issue. Therefore, 3 simple questions. What is the problem here today? Why was this resolution written? For 2, were there any other options that could have helped resolve the concern? What are the options that could have resolved this concern? What is the desire, and most importantly, what is the desired benefit resulting from rescinding and repealing the honor that DuPage County has given to Henry Hyde? Who does that? Who rescinds and repeals an honor for our congressman for the past 15 years? Who does that? I have examined the original board resolution approved nearly 15 years ago. Just pulled it up yesterday. Its rationale proudly showcases a thorough, inspirational commendation expressing gratitude for Henry Hyde's legacy. However, today's resolution is missing a whereas statement indicating why the board needs to do this. The first 2 proclamations and resolutions were very detailed in their rationale and explanation. And paragraph 3, DuPage County Board desires to rescind what was done 15 years ago. Just explain the rationale openly, transparently, and clearly, and what the benefit is to the public. Thank you very much.
Lisa Forst. Lisa Forst. Jennifer Hayes.
Morning, Chairman Conroy, members of the board, and fellow citizens. I am a precinct committeeman, and I have lived in DuPage County for almost 40 years. I stand before you today to address a crisis in our county clerk's office, one that threatens transparency, fiscal responsibility, and the integrity of our election process. It started with an auditor's inquiry into invoices exceeding $55,000. Some of which lacked proper documentation and did not comply with the state procurement laws. When the county board sought answers, Clerk Jean Kazmarek refused to appear. The refusal escalated into a legal battle, now costing taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. In April of 2024, after months of non-compliance, the board considered legal action to ensure state laws were followed. Yet instead of cooperation, the clerk again refused to engage, ignoring the authority of this board and the legal guidance of the state's attorney. The situation worsened when $224,000 in election invoices were not paid, including to Runbeck, a contractor whom Gene Kazmarek bypassed competitive bidding. In response, the Illinois General Assembly clarified the law, which was all county purchases over $30,000, excluding professional services, must go through a competitive bidding process. Yet even with this clarity, the clerk continued to disregard the law. Then in September of 2024, the state's attorney office was forced to file suit to compel her compliance. The lawsuit alleges that the clerk is not following the Illinois Local Government Prompt Payment Act 50 ILCS 505. The lawsuit number is 2024 MR 547. Instead of accountability, she countersued the board, the auditor, and our chair, claiming unilateral authority over spending decisions. This is not how government is supposed to work. Now we are at a critical juncture. The clerk has requested a private attorney at taxpayers' expense, further increasing the financial burden on our residents. Meanwhile, we have no assurances that the controversial Runbeck Election Services contract, which is set for review in June of 2025, will be competitively bid. Let's be clear, Runbeck is a for-profit company based out of Arizona. The county clerk did a no-bid contract with Runbeck. A recent FOIA revealed Runbeck, out of Arizona, prints all of our vote-by-mail ballots in Arizona. Runbeck mails all of our vote-by-mail ballots from Arizona.
If you could please wrap up, you're at 3 minutes.
Runbeck, a for-profit company out of Arizona, has full access to and manages our election database. This information begs the question, why is our county clerk so secretive about our elections, and in particular Runbeck contracts? It's time to remove the election division from the clerk's office and ensure all contracts, including Runbeck, go through proper competitive bidding. We deserve transparent and lawful governance. The citizens of this county and the integrity of our elections depend on it. Thank you.
Chris Katrubis. Chris Katrubis.
Good morning. Chairman of Point of Inquiry. I can't be the only person speaker who's 5'3". Is there somewhere that we could have an adjustable podium? And in all due respect, and I just put it in the next budget, consider taking it to committee.
I'm not sure if it's in the ADA, but I feel the same way if I would be over there.
Okay, well, I just, just for the point of conversation at a future point. Thank
Okay,
you, thank
noted.
you. Thank you. I met Henry in 1977, and the last time I saw him was about 2 weeks before he died in 2007. And over those 30 years, I had a front seat into his career, both locally and internationally. Picking up at the airport on most Friday nights, taking him to events in DuPage County, and driving him back to the airport on Sunday night for his return flight to Washington. I was the backup in those duties to his chief political assistant, Pat Durrani, along with others. He would return to his district while in Congress was in session, with few exception, every weekend. And Henry never took his congressional seat for granted. He was they put me in a position of trust. He was elected 15 times, re-elected 15 times in a row, endorsed by all major newspapers. Congressman Henry Hyde was so much more than the Hyde Amendment. He was the chief sponsor of the Family Medical Leave Act, sponsored in 2003 the United States Leadership Against HIV and AIDS, Tuberculosis, and Malaria Act, the Henry J. Hyde United States-India Peaceful Atomic Energy Cooperation Act. Together with Texas Democrat Mickey Leland, Henry successfully enacted important foreign assistance programs aimed at improving nutrition, health programs in developing nations, and erasing worldwide hunger. As Judiciary Chair, he responded to the growing corruption in ways that law enforcement seized the property of people innocently caught up in the criminality of others. And he made interstate flight to avoid child support a federal crime. Henry joined with Democratic National Chair, the former Democratic National Chair and current Congresswoman from Florida, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, during the 109th Congress and brought about the creation of the first Jewish American Heritage Month. The Congresswoman, during the tribute to Henry Hyde on the floor of the U.S. House, went on to thank Henry for his commitment and dedication to the American Jewish culture. In appreciation to that leadership and Henry's lifelong commitment to serving his country, I have requested a tree be planted in his memory and dedicated in Israel and dedicated to his memory. He is the only known recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom from DuPage County, presented to him by George W. Bush. He was decorated for action against the enemy while piloting LCT in the Battle of Lagon Gulf in the Philippines during World War II. Congressman Hyde was so much more than the Hyde Amendment. He waded through knee-high water in DuPage constituents' basement along the Salt Creek following a 500-year flooding in the 1980s. He became relentless in his pursuit for the answer and solution to that long-standing problem. At his insistence, FEMA, the Corps of Engineers, moved mountains and funding to create the holding reservoirs like the Elmer's Quarry and to buy homes along the creek. Let me finish. I know my time is up. I want to begging your pardon, Chairman. Finally, the former Democrat Congressman Melvin Watt from North Carolina may have said it best as part of his eulogy to Henry. Congressman Watt joined with a half a dozen other Democratic peers traveling to Illinois to give their final testament to their colleague in a church that was standing room only. I thank the family for giving us this opportunity to share this wonderful man and for recognizing the great relationship that has transcended all differences and found us as Americans and with common humanity all at this point. I thank God for the impact that Henry Hyde had on my life. Vote no, please, on this amendment.
Dennis Rebelotti. Dennis Rebelotti.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of this august body. As I drove here today, I look at street names and building names and wonder why were they placed there? Honorary streets. And when I think about Congressman Hyde, who I had a chance to meet in 1991, and one of the people who were my mentors, one of the things he talked to me about was how to represent your community and how to do the right thing even when that's the hardest thing to do. Today, it seems easy to take people's names off of things if you don't like exactly everything they did. But why is that? Why is that so easy? The Hyde Amendment's been around since 1976, went into effect in 1980, and Republican congressmen and Democratic congressmen have never overturned it. Why is that? They could have. There's been majorities of Democratic congressmen and the presidency. It hasn't happened for whatever reason. As somebody who is an attorney who practices in the building right across the way, not one time has any of my clients told me, I don't feel safe coming into here. I won't get a free and just result. Never thought about it. And I've walked into other county courthouses across this state and the federal courthouse. They all have names. Never wondered if I could get a fair shake for my client in those courthouses. I will tell you this. The Hyde family and Henry Hyde's legacy always has a home in Addison Township. Whatever signs you take down, they are welcome to be placed at our township building and will be there. If the family wants to place a statue there and their benefactors are still there, we'll put the statue there. I walked around this building before I came in on purpose. There are a lot of pictures and a lot of plaques of a lot of people who've done a lot of good. And there are also the names of the same people who I've had disagreements with. That doesn't take away from their entire legacy. I can tell you as a township trustee, when Henry officed in Addison Township, how many death threats would come to him for standing up for what was right for his constituents. Always under assault. But I can also tell you the time his doors were open to all constituents. And watching America's congressman come back home to see him at a number of events, he talked about the power of incumbency, saying, well, yeah, but now you have to be the 12th speaker at an event that now you're there till midnight on. We got to stop canceling one another. Democrats have done great things and Republicans have done great things in this county. We can't stop ignoring our history. The only thing we can learn is to learn from our history and continue to do better. On behalf of all Addison Townships, I'm asking your support to vote no. Thank you very much.
Gary Besian.
Thank you, Chairman and board members. Gary Vision, retired teacher, same as my parents. I'm speaking on behalf as a common citizen for Henry Hyde. My parents and I really appreciated the work Henry Hyde did for all citizens, especially when we had concerns about things in education, needy children, handicapped individuals. He was always there to listen. He was a great listener. You know, despite being a very important person, being a congressman and being one of the top congressmen, he never would deny the opportunity for us to speak with him, even though we were just common citizens. And he cared about everyone. He cared about the youngest newborns or pre-life, and he cared about the parents and the family members, and then the elderly too. In fact, one example I think of, we had a neighbor of ours, lady that was a little bit older, and she had begun teaching in the era when women could not get married. And so she spent her career as a teacher here in DuPage County and then retired. She was very helpful to a lot of people, and we helped her also as she got elderly. Well, eventually she got to the point where she, with no relatives in the area, that she needed help to get another place to live. And we had some difficulty with that until we were able to speak with Henry Hyde, and he took the time to help get her placed in a great place for her at the end of her life. So he was a man who believed in supporting all of us from the first day of conception to our final days. So I'd really like you to consider that. He's a great human being, a great listener, and a great person. Thank you.
Mary Louise Hangsbaugh. Mary Louise Hangsbaugh.
Good morning. My name is Mary Louise Hengesbaugh. I live in DuPage County. I'm very involved in my children's public schools and in the community. I urge you to vote no on the resolution repealing CB 5510 and instead keep Henry Hyde's name on the judicial office facility. The public, including most women of DuPage County, are not with you in this proposed name change. In fact, my phone has been blowing up with text messages from friends, busy moms, professional women who live in DuPage County who asked me to be here today to speak to you before this vote. Henry Hyde represented DuPage County with distinction in Springfield and in Washington for 40 years. It's noteworthy that yesterday's Chicago Tribune editorial urged you not to change the name of the courthouse. There's also broad public support for the Hyde Amendment, which states that federal taxpayer funds should not be used to pay for abortions. In fact, according to a Harvard and Politico poll, there is a 22-point gap in support. A full 58% of people support the Hyde Amendment and do not want the government using taxpayer funds for abortion. And in fact, according to the recent Marist poll, this is at 60%. According to the Harvard and Political poll, only 36% of people want taxpayer funds used for abortions. As elected officials, your job is to represent all of the people of DuPage County and not impose on your constituents partisanship, political preferences, or alliances with wealthy special interest groups. In addition, erasure of the Hyde Amendment, that is making abortion essentially free, actually increases the pressure on women to abort. For 7 years, I was privileged to supervise the Project Rachel post-abortion healing program in Chicago. Many of the women who called the Project Rachel hotline felt tremendous pressure to abort. In fact, a landmark lawsuit is now being brought by a group of courageous women in Minnesota who were forced by others to abort. Making such a permanent decision as abortion free, quick, and easy increases this pressure on women. My guess is that no one here believes a woman should ever be forced or coerced to abort. And if you agree, then you should value the Hyde Amendment. While forced abortion is illegal, it actually occurs every day in the United States. The Hyde Amendment enjoys broad public support, as shown by various polls across the nation, and Henry Hyde represented the people of this country with distinction for 40 years, including as chair of Congress's Judiciary Committee. It is fitting that our county's judicial office facility be named after him. Please vote no on this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. And that we've reached the 30 minutes. If the board has received public comment via our online portal, per board policy, those comments were provided to members yesterday so they could be reviewed. Comments submitted electronically will be included in the minutes of today's meeting.
Madam Chair, point of order, I'd like to extend public comment 30 minutes.
All in favor? Oh, we'll do a roll call.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Yours is not on.
Childress. Covert.
No.
Desart. Egoff. Evans.
Aye.
Galassi. Garcia.
No.
Heather. Honig. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Rutledge.
No.
Schwarzy. Tornatori. And you.
No.
Eight voting aye, 10 voting nay.
Okay, we'll continue another 30 minutes. Oh, we won't. Oh, I thought it was, okay, all right. Sorry about that, apologies. Okay, on today's agenda, you will find a resolution rescinding a previous action of the DuPage County Board taken in October 2010, naming the judicial office facility after Congressman Henry Hyde. It is my belief that our judicial office facility should be known simply as the DuPage County Judicial Office Facility. Here in DuPage County, public buildings serve all people, regardless of race, gender, faith, or ethnic status, economic status. The Hyde Amendment restricted health care rights of women who could not afford private insurance or pay for health care themselves. Today's resolution is in direct response to women who were marginalized or reminded that when they walked into the courthouse. This resolution reinforces the notion that buildings on this campus support the rights of all people to receive the services they need. I believe our actions should reflect our values. On to the consent agenda. I seek a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
Okay. On the consent agenda? Okay, roll call on the consent agenda.
Rutledge. Schwarzy. Tornatori. You.
Aye.
Zay.
No.
Cahill. Childress. Covert.
Aye.
Desart. Eckhoff. Evans.
Aye.
Galassi. Garcia.
Aye.
Heather.
Yes.
Honig. Krajewski. Was that a pass or a yes? LaPlante. Ozog. And Krajewski. 16 voting aye, 2 voting nay. But he came back and voted yes.
Okay, moving on. I'm sorry, Michael, Member Childers, sorry.
I did not understand the vote. I'd like to change my vote.
Oh, so you understood.
Point of order, it's already been announced. You can't change your vote after it's been announced.
That's okay. Well, the record is taken. We're all good. We understand. Okay. 25, 486, DuPage County Board Regular Meeting Minutes, Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. 25, 389, 123, 2025 Auto Debit Pay List. 25, 391, 124, 2025 Pay List. 25, 405, 128, 2025 Pay List. 131, 2025, 25043, 131, 2025 Pay List. 250446, 24, 2025 Pay List. 250451, 25, 2025 Auto Debit Pay List. 250470, change orders to various contracts as specified in the attached packet. All in favor? Aye. Okay, and we'll move on to Vice Chair Member Childress and County Board.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise today for CBR 925, resolution rescinding CB 5510.
Okay, we will begin with Member Ozog.
We need to,
Oh, was it?
there's a second.
Okay, I see. Member Ozog.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to start out with my personal opinion that this building should never have been named in the first place, named after anyone. I think the only appropriate name, if you're going to name a courthouse, is after a jurist. The Layton Court at 26th and California, the criminal court in Chicago, is named after Judge Layton, who was a civil rights pioneer and an African-American judge. Otherwise, though, I don't believe in general that we should be naming buildings after anyone but a jurist. In 2010, this was not unanimous. This passed from a 12 to 5 vote, and at that time, for District 4, members McBride, may he rest in peace, Olson, and Eckhoff all voted no. So I will be voting no today because I also believe, and I did hear from a good share of constituents in District 4, that they would prefer that we take the name off the building. This is a rough tally, but we heard from about 258 members of the public in our our online public participation. And of those people, 78 people wanted to keep the name on the building, and 180 would like us to remove the name. So I don't believe it should have ever happened in the first place, and I think that this needs to be the DuPage Judicial Center. Thank you.
Okay, and Member Ozog, hold on. For clarification, the vote on the board floor was unanimous in 2010.
And what was the I was looking up records. Was that previous?
The issue goes before it, not after.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm still voting no.
Okay,
Or I'm
thank you.
voting in
Okay,
favor of removing.
Member Krajewski.
But thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be also joining. Hold on. Don't I get to, she
Wait,
named me in
Member-
her comments.
Yeah. Eckhoff.
She named me in her comments. I think
Oh,
that's
I'm
the point.
sorry, Member Eckhoff.
I just wanted to make it clear that the vote in 2010 was unanimous in favor of naming this building. I voted for it, so you misread whatever you read. And 3 Democrats voted for it, too.
Yes, I just stated that. Thank you, Member Eckhoff. Member Krajewski.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave, so I appreciate you letting me talk. I would be voting no. If I was here, I would join Member Ozog in voting no, as she stated. But again, my one thing I just want to say, I want to thank all of the...
Stop naming board members.
I was just joining her. I didn't say no. But you know what? I just want to thank all the residents. We had an awful lot of emails, and there was an awful lot of people who came here today and made calls, I assume, to all the board members. I've been on this board since 2010. It was after that amendment. But in my 15 years here on the board, and in discussion with Member Zay 2 seconds ago, he's been here a lot longer. We have never, ever denied extending the residents who have showed up here some time to speak. And we've been through a lot of these. We've gone sometimes 7 hours, but sometimes we've at least extended when we have people drive all the way out here to at least give another 30 minutes. Member Zay didn't say, let's just keep going forever, but he just gave another 30 minutes because we did have a lot of residents. So I want to apologize to all the residents who did show up here that we didn't give you an opportunity to speak. And I know we did extend some courtesy to the first member, the son of Henry Hyde, to go a little longer than 3 minutes. But, you know, we only got to hear from a few of you. But again, I want to thank you. Just let the board know that in my 15 years here, we've never allowed just a small extension because when we have a lot of comments. Thank you and good luck with all your discussions.
Have a good day, Member Kajewski. Member Desart. Oh, you didn't? Okay. Member Garcia.
Thank you, Chair Conroy. I have had many conversations with DuPage County constituents, and to follow up on the lack of public comment, we did get, I can't remember the total, Mary probably has the total on over 250 written public comments that we have all taken the time to read, so we have had a fair amount of public comment, actually 2 times as many in favor of taking the Henry Hyde name off as against it. So just want to let people know that we are aware of what most people's comments are. We do appreciate people coming out here, but we have had a lot of comment on that. So anyways, I've had a lot of comments with DuPage County constituents who feel strongly, as do I, that government buildings should not be named after political leaders. Our government campus should have buildings named for the purpose that they serve. I applaud the fact that the building will now be the DuPage County Judicial Office Facility. This may be viewed as a partisan decision, and I'm sorry for that, but I actually view naming it after a leader that some in the county view as a hero and some view as the opposite was the partisan decision. This rescission of the resolution will maybe be one way for our county to stop being as divided. It also serves to highlight that this board believes all residents we serve should have the same rights. DuPage County government's very own mission statement is to ensure that our communities will always be desirable places to live, work, and raise families, and where all feel welcomed. Let us be the change that helps all feel welcomed in DuPage County, with the plus that residents know exactly the work being done in that building, and that's justice. Thank you.
Okay. Member Yu and then Member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand that Henry Hyde is a large part of DuPage history. I respect that he has an important legacy and that he had many actions benefiting DuPage. And I especially appreciate that he voted to ban certain types of assault weapons while he was in Congress, and that he supported the Family and Medical Leave Act. But it is possible to be known and revered as a dedicated public servant and also not have your name on a courthouse. We all know that judges are meant to be fair and impartial. Our judicial system is meant to be fair and impartial. That's why Lady Justice is depicted with scales and a blindfold. And personally, as a lawyer and social worker, I don't consider it appropriate for the courthouse to have any name other than the People's Courthouse. I believe that no one can deny that he was a political figure associated strongly with one political party and a certain political viewpoint. Taking Congressman Hyde's name off the courthouse reflects the values of many people in DuPage County, as shown by the vast majority of submitted online public comments from DuPage and from District 2 who wish Congressman Hyde's name off the courthouse. There's been a lot of change in DuPage. We have a female county board chair. We have my friend, a Black American man on the county board. We have a female majority on the county board with 4 Asian women. And now our county courthouse brings in people of all faiths, backgrounds, ethnicities, economic status, and beliefs, and they're all doing business at court. If it's meant to be the People's Courthouse, then it should simply say the DuPage County Judicial Official Facility. Consequently, I will be voting for this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said. Member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess there's a bet right now on how long I'm going to go. That's what Member Dessart told me. You know, I've never been more disappointed to be a county board member than I have today, my 25 years here. We have never, ever not let the public speak, not extended comments. But I guess this was all worked out ahead of time. I guess it was really worked out ahead of time because we got a invitation to the DuPage County Judicial Center already for next week. So his name was already taken off before we even got here today. You know, I'm glad that some of my colleagues have the courage to stand up and say why they're not standing for it. But I can tell you in 2010, when Member Eckhoff and I voted for this, in a resolution that's 2.5 pages long, that was a bipartisan, supported by Democrats, that went through the history of Henry Hyde and not one mention of the Hyde Amendment in it. This is so narrow-minded when you're looking at a person's career, 32 years in the United States Congress, that we're looking at one issue. One issue, a man who served his country during World War II and stayed in the reserves. A man who worked on the Hyde Amendment, that if any of you look at the Hyde Amendment, when it was passed in 1976, it was passed by a majority of Democrats, not Republicans. We're talking about one issue here. So many good people talked about it. His son talked about it. Many people were saying today, well, the family's okay with this. They're not okay with this. How would you be okay with this? I mean, I grew up in Elmhurst. I went to Elmhurst College. I fought with my professors about Henry Hyde, went back and forth, but they all respected him. I idolized him. He was a great man. He took a young guy under his shoulder, under his arms and said, hey, if you need anything, call me, which I was blown apart by. I'm like, why does he care about me? But he told me the hardest things you're going to do when you're an elected official is vote for what you think is right. And that might not always be what your party says, but you have to do the right things for your constituents. And that's the kind of man he was. You know, you want to talk about all the stuff, the Brady Bill, the Family Leave Act. I mean, we heard billions of dollars for the AIDS epidemic. Let's talk about what he did for our county, and that's why we put his name on that building. His fingerprints are all over this county. We had talked about stormwater, you know, in my issue. He gave us so much water to build the Wood-Itasca Reservoir, the Louis Reservoir, work on the Elmhurst Quarry. We wouldn't even be close to this. We would still be flooding the area if it wasn't for him. He got funds for O'Hare Airport, for the expansion of O'Hare Airport, but he also then got funds for the soundproofing of houses and schools. So then those people were taken care of in his district. You know, we don't talk about roads in about 355. I got a call yesterday from Pam Ryan, who used to serve on this board, and who was the chair of transportations for decades. He says, Jim, do you remember when Opticon came out? Henry Hyde got us the initial money so we can get Opticon installed on all our lights here in DuPage County, which is a public safety thing, which we were a leader on. I mean, his work for the disabled and for Markland was unbelievable. Markland was our district in Bloomingdale. They had it in Roselle. He worked for disabled people. They wanted to come, but they were afraid to come because they were afraid of retribution from this board because they still get funding from this board. I mean, I guess he didn't work that much because their main administration building is named after Henry Hyde in Geneva. You know, I just don't understand this. After today, we talk about a public comment. We've been on the board 15 years. This name's been on the judicial complex. Before this weekend, how many emails, how many calls, how many people reached out to us and said, it's a problem. We need to take his name off. 0. We haven't seen any. I sit on judicial public safety, haven't seen it. I sit on all the other committees. Anybody can email us at any time. This is pure and simple political. That's what this is. And I guess that's the way it is. And I can see the tone on this board where it goes this way. But that's fine. Again, we're basing our decision on a narrow-minded thing about one amendment, the Hyde Amendment. Again, doesn't say you can't have an abortion. It just says federal funds aren't going to pay for it. Well, wait a minute, it does for the health of the mother and cases of rape and incest.
Not health of the mother.
So that's pretty good. So, you know, I just don't understand this. This man did so much for our county. His fingerprints are all over it. Our county wouldn't be what it is today. And again, from what I'm hearing today, and I know from correspondence back and forth with the chair, what's next? Who's coming down next? Because names shouldn't be on buildings. Is that federally too? So are all the other names gonna come down at this point? I mean, that's where we're at. And I guess you have the majority, that's fine, but this is just wrong for a man who did so much for our country. Thank you.
Okay, Member
Madam Chair,
Cahill.
point of personal privilege.
Oh,
Point of personal privilege.
Member Dessert.
Members, they mentioned my name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said stop mentioning board members' names.
Okay. Well, I will make my comments brief, and that is that, I don't see this as a one-issue reason to drop the Henry Hyde name for the courthouse. I see this more as Member you said, this is the people's courthouse, not this board's courthouse. And as far as being partisan, I see the 2010 naming of the courthouse the partisan issue. I see what we're doing now is the nonpartisan issue, and I think that is the right thing to do. I hear my fellow colleagues saying that this is a partisan issue, and I'll tell you, if it was a partisan issue, there are wonderful statesmen and women who come from Illinois, who we could honor. We could honor Hillary Rodham Clinton. We could honor former President Barack Obama. We're not doing that with the courthouse. We're making the courthouse nonpartisan by taking all names off it. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, Member Cahill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, it's the democratic process for all of us to discuss, to share our ideas. It's really disappointing to me that we would not extend it another 30 minutes to let these people speak. This is just not right. Why can't you listen to what everyone has to say? Another 30 minutes? This man's name has been on the building 15 years. I just think that is wrong, and I'm really disappointed with my colleagues that they did not extend that another 30 minutes. As a District 1 representative, Henry Hyde was from Wooddale, Addison Township. He is revered there. He brought so many resources and accomplished so much, not just for District 1, but for DuPage County. I know we got all these texts and everything through our public comment, but I can't tell you how many people reached out to me, mayors, Democrats, Republicans, friends of mine saying, I don't agree with this cancel business. I don't agree. They can say what they are politically, but they don't agree with taking his name off the building. So I had two I want to share with you. One was a former staffer from Washington, D.C., and he now lives in Arizona. And he called me last night, and he was willing to take the red-eye flight to come into DuPage County and be here this morning to speak to all of us here. He said, I know so much about Henry Hyde. I want to educate this board on the wonderful things he did. It was not just about, the Hyde Amendment. He did so many things, particularly Head Start. We had a number of people in our district who were handicapped, and Congressman Hyde took care of them right away. So I said to him, don't bother taking the red eye because I believe that the board has the votes to take his name down. So anyway, that was one person. The second person was a constituent who is also a mayor who said, why are you guys wasting your time and efforts on this? I strongly oppose this, and I ask that you vote no. So I am voting no, and based on the fact that overwhelmingly in my District 1, Democrats and Republicans do not support removing Congressman Hyde's name from the judicial building. Thank you.
Okay, Member Ozog, then, okay, Member Tonatori. We'll come back to you then. That's okay, go ahead. Member Tonatori.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not going to go into Congressman Hyde's accomplishments because we've heard of them. We've seen them. Anybody who knows anything about them knows what kind of a person he is. And let me say that as a husband and a father of a very strong-willed daughter, I appreciate women's right to do what they think is in their best interest. I also appreciate people who believe maybe differently. But I never thought I'd be discussing that on the county board of DuPage County floor. I never thought we'd have abortion as an issue. But apparently we are. I am opposed to this resolution. I can't begin to tell you how much I am. I'm not opposed to it because of party loyalty. I'm not opposed to it because I knew Congressman Hyde, because I didn't. I'm not opposed to it because of the Hyde Amendment, like it or not. I'm opposed to it because it's unnecessary. I must be living in a bizarro world because I see this as a divisive resolution, not the opposite, which someone earlier said. And by the way, if we want to talk about naming buildings after jurists, the Dirksen Federal Building, Senator Dirksen wasn't a jurist, and neither was Richard J. Daley. The Daley Center is named after Richard J. Daley. There's a courthouse in the building. That's primarily what is in that building. It was. This is an issue. I can't see this as an issue which can only pull us apart. I'm devastated. I can't begin to tell you that this is canceling in its purest form. This is partisanship. You know, when you took over chair and people would ask me how the county board is going, I was really proud to say, we're doing really well. We're getting along. A hell of a lot less difficult than it was under the prior administration, when there was a lot of animosity that was going back and forth. I don't know that I can say that anymore. And I think that what was going on today are my colleagues who are doing something because you think you can do it. And I'm going to tell you, there was a woman who I love to death, my mother, who told me, you know, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And that's my suggestion today. Just because you think you can do something doesn't mean you should. I think we're straying from what we were elected to do. I have never heard a hue and cry to remove this name from the building, and I'm there 4 days a week. I asked 15 people yesterday when I was in court what the name of the building was. Not one of them knew what it was. I venture to say 98% of the people who go into that building don't know that Henry Hyde's name is on there. And 99% don't even know who Henry Hyde was, let alone, they will now, because we've made it an issue. We talk about this being an issue in your constituency. Did anybody on this board floor run on the issue of removing Henry Hyde's name? I know that I read in the newspaper that Chair Conroy answered a question from the Daily Herald. Well, we know that newspapers ask provocative questions to get provocative answers to sell newspapers, but I'm not so sure that it was on anybody's mail pieces or social media. You know, doing what we're doing today is why people hate us. It's why people don't like politicians. Because we stray. We don't do what we're elected to do. I don't know that anybody elected us to remove somebody's name. I agree with Member Dessart. I don't think names should be on buildings. But you know what the difference is today, Dawn? It's already there. If it wasn't there and we were voting to put somebody's name on, I'd vote no. But it's there. So now it's there, and we're going to take it off. We're going to chisel it off. Can we forget whose name is on there for just a second and think if it was somebody else's name, and you all know me, if Barack Obama's name was on there, I wouldn't vote to take it down. I don't care whose name is on there. It's there. We made an agreement with somebody in their family to honor them. And now we want to chisel it away. It's unnecessary. It's an insult. It's an insult to Henry Hyde, his family, his supporters. I think it's an insult to the county board, who in 2010 unanimously voted to do it. The very people who sit in the seats that we're in now. They thought they were doing the right thing. Apparently, some of us don't. Look, I get it. We're a different political party than we were in 2010. I accept that. You know me. I work with everybody. But in all honesty, I'm beginning to feel marginalized. I'm beginning to feel like I can't represent my constituents because I know walking into a room that no matter what I say, it's not going to make a difference because I'm one of 6 and not one of 12. It's not the way this is supposed to work. I don't think I'm going to change anybody's mind. I think what I'm going through right now is oratorical insanity. It's not going to make a difference. But I got to say what I got to say. Because for the last 5 nights, since I found out about this on Friday, I've just wondered why. Why? What are we doing? Maybe I'm too emotional. Maybe I don't get it. I don't know. But we use words like bipartisanship. I've heard it used here. Working together. I can tell you, today's not one of those days. I don't know that we're ever going to get back to bipartisanship when stuff is made up and we're making up problems and looking for solutions for problems that don't exist. I don't like being a politician. When my family used to call me a politician, I said, no, I'm an elected official. I'm not a politician. But you know what? Today I feel like we're all politicians. And that sucks. It's wrong. What we're doing today is wrong. It's wrong to the family. It's wrong to what he did. He's not a one-trick. Henry Hyde was not a one-issue guy. And I didn't know him. I never met him. And I'm not sure I agree with a lot of the things that he did. That doesn't matter. We did something. We made some kind of an agreement with somebody to put his name up there. I don't know if it moved into the realm of a contract. Probably not. But we did something, and now we want to take it away. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm terribly disappointed in what we're doing. I'm going to vote no, and I appreciate your indulgence.
Thank you, Member Tonatori. I certainly understand the marginalized feeling. When I was first elected, I was the only Democrat in DuPage County, and in 2010, I don't believe anyone ever thought DuPage would be anything else except solidly red. That was another story for another time. I do believe that putting his name up there was partisan in having done that. And as far as the bipartisan work of this board and the fact that I respect every one of you, that will continue from my perspective. That will not change. Unless you choose not to work with me, I will continue to value you. I'm the chair. Member Tonatori, I believe I'm the chair. Okay, so I absolutely am, and thank you very much for your comments. On to Member Desart, and then Member Evans.
Oh, I just said point of personal order because Member Tornatori mentioned my name again.
Okay.
And I was going to say some of the things that you just said, though, so thank you.
Okay. Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I really struggled with this. When I found out about it on Friday, I thought, okay, we'll just change the name. It's not a big deal. But it is a big deal. You know, we have a room full of people, and I had many, many phone calls, many emails. We got a lot of public comments, and I'm listening, you know. So I've been on this board for a little over 2 years, and I've survived 2 elections to get here. And I have to, I hope everyone on this board respects my vote. And I'm disappointed to see this on the agenda. I think it is, it puts us in a very awkward position. And I understand, I respect the campaign promise that you made to take the name down, but, you know, I think everyone on this board had to fill out our own questionnaires when we were running, and one of them was, how are you going to promote bipartisanship? And that was one of my campaign promises. I really want to work, you know, with everyone here. And this really puts us in an awkward spot. So that's just where I sit on this. I'm unapologetically pro-choice, and I'm a Democrat. But I still think that taking the name down is just, it's not bringing value to the women that I serve. So, I mean, what's it gonna get us? I respect everyone's vote here. I won't try to change anybody's mind, but when it comes time to vote, I'm going to abstain. I want to thank everyone for being here. I voted to extend the public comments because I was hoping to hear the counterpoints, you know? I just wanted to hear everybody.
No, there were lots of pro, they just were not on the top of the list.
Yeah, so I still, you know, I wanted to hear everyone's views that made it out here. So it's too bad that we couldn't, but, you know, they're repetitive. I get everybody's points, but I hear everybody, I see everybody, and I'm looking forward to when this is over. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Evans. Member LaPlante.
Thank you, Chair. So I also just found out about this on Friday and was also surprised to hear that it was going to be on the agenda. First and foremost, I am a very proud Democrat. I am proudly and unabashedly pro-choice. I always have been and I always will. It would be very easy for me to vote along party lines on this issue and just, I know this vote is most likely going to pass, but I do feel it's important to express dissenting opinions, and I do think it's very important for people to respect them and listen to them, because otherwise, why am I here? I was elected to offer my opinions, my values, my judgments, and that's what I'm going to do today. So I feel, I don't really, no disrespect to Congressman Hyde, but I personally am not a fan. So that's okay. But I still don't think this is the right thing to do. I think my reason is we have so many more urgent and bigger issues that we are facing right now. And I can't believe this is where we're putting our time, our energy, our resources, our passions. I wish we were talking about something else for, has it been about an hour and 15 minutes now? I'm really concerned about public health. Do we have a plan in place with our health department, how we're going to communicate about the real threat of H5N1, especially now that we've been removed from the World Health Organization, there's no communications from the CDC. Those are the things that I'm thinking about. And I wanted to know what my constituents were thinking about. So over the weekend, I made a list of 20 voters in my district, District 4. I picked these 20 people with very specific criteria in mind. Strong Democrats. What that means is they don't just vote at presidential elections, they vote in primaries, they vote in midterms. High information voters, meaning people who are extremely dialed in to to current politics and who are have very strong feelings about politics. I figured they would be my toughest crowd, right? Pro-choice, strong Democrats, very politically active. So I ran it past them. I developed a survey of 4 questions, and I spent many hours reaching out and having conversations with these 20 voters. The first question I asked is, without Googling, can you please tell me who the DuPage County Courthouse is named after? Not one person was able to give me the answer. And they were all embarrassed. I feel like I should know this. And I said, no, it's okay, it's okay. I said, it's named after Henry J. Hyde. That didn't even jog a memory. That didn't make them say, oh, of course. Not one of them knew. And I have never heard it referred as such. I've never heard it referred colloquially as the Hyde Courthouse. Never. Everyone calls it the DuPage County Courthouse. In fact, if you Google it, it comes up DuPage County Courthouse. Just saying. People sent me that text and that screenshot. So the next thing I asked them was, now that you know who the county board, or excuse me, the courthouse is named after, can you please let me know if this has ever negatively impacted you, and if so, how? All 20 of them said no, it's never impacted them negatively. Okay, great. Third question, are you more concerned about having Henry Hyde's name on the courthouse building, or are you concerned about any one of these issues here? And I listed some off. Like some of them that I already said, environmental issues, sustainability, national security issues, many things that are keeping people basically from sleeping lately. And quite frankly, I'm more concerned with people who are actively legislating right now, who are alive and actively legislating. I'm more concerned about them. In other words, we have problems that we have to be forward-facing, not looking to the past. Every single one of those 20 people said, I am definitely more concerned with real issues, not the courthouse name, that they weren't even aware of it. So then my fourth and final question, I asked these 20 voters, and some of them, by the way, live right here. Some of them live within walking distance of the courthouse, and they were unaware of it. So my fourth and final question was, if I, as your elected official on the county board, chose to abstain on this vote because I feel that we have more pressing and urgent matters to consider, would that be okay with you? How would you feel? All 20 said, I support that. I love it. Thank you for doing that. So that's what I'm doing. Again, I don't see that pulling his name off the building, it doesn't put food, excuse me.
I'm talking to somebody else.
Doesn't put
Excuse
food on
me.
the table. It doesn't help anyone afford their insulin. It doesn't help anyone find affordable housing. It doesn't stop a public health crisis. It definitely doesn't bring our community together. I ran for office so I could serve my community. I'm trying to move away from politics as usual. This is my third term. My very first race, I made a promise that said I would do everything in my power to make things less partisan at the local level. That means, to me, being a critical thinker. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm thinking critically. I'm thinking on behalf of my constituents and the people who elected me to be here. They know I am a critical thinker. That's how I got elected to my third term. I encourage critical thinking on this board. It's very easy for us to fall back into old habits of us versus them. That's not working. It hasn't worked in the past. It is most certainly not working in the present. I hope that we can move forward and do the work we were elected to do, which is serving the people of DuPage County. Thank you.
Thank you, Member LaPlante. And I would certainly say that two things can be true at one time. We certainly have not stopped doing the hard work of what's most important to DuPage County. So thank you for that. Member Swarzy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lots of good discussion going on this morning. Look, this is a tough vote because I'm I'm very proud of my bipartisan support, and certainly you can tell from the conversation here this is sort of a partisan issue. You know, I love my job. I love the fact that I get to be here and do good things for people. I get to help pass resolutions, help decide how to spend money to do good for our community. You know, we've heard a lot on all the wonderful things that Congressman Hyde did during his time here, but ultimately this does, as we can tell, this revolves around women's reproduction freedom. That's what this revolves around. And you know, we've had a lot of public comment, both in person and online. We've gotten a lot of emails. One email that I want to read that I got that is really important to me, and that's why I'm going to read it. At 28 years old, I reflect on the security I once took for granted, the freedom to decide if and when I would be able to start a family. But in 2022, when the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, that illusion of stability shattered, and I realized how quickly my rights could be stripped away. Now the fear of being denied critical medical care and emergency lingers in the back of my mind every day. Women have already died in states where doctors hesitate to treat miscarriages for fear of prosecution, and in Idaho, OBGYNs are leaving, forcing pregnant women to travel hundreds of miles for care. Access to legal and safe abortions is health care. Without it, women's lives are at risk. Their autonomy is being erased and their futures are being decided by lawmakers who will never face these choices themselves. Now, this is recent, and I'm sure maybe we wouldn't even be talking about this if what happened in 2022 didn't happen with Roe. We've had a lot of people speak up for the congressman, rightfully so. I haven't heard anybody speak up for the tens of millions of women who this law has affected. And this, by the way, this email is for my daughter. As a father of 2 daughters and 2 stepdaughters, I will be voting in support of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Swarzy. And before Member Galassi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to just make 2 points. I know a lot has been said. The first one is I also am very disappointed that we did not vote to extend the speaking time. It is very different to get in a car. I personally live in the furthest part of the county, and it takes me 45 minutes to get here. So to have denied people for the first time ever on this board floor to speak their mind, to me is very disappointing, particularly when we've taken votes on this floor to move meetings to the evenings, which puts hardship on our staff so that we can accommodate others. So to me, that is very inconsistent. I do pride myself as trying to be consistent as an elected official. And voting to not extend and not hear everyone's perspective, to me, was very inconsistent with the reasoning that we moved one of our annual meetings to a nighttime meeting. People made that time. People drove here. People, may have missed work, and we didn't give them the right to be heard. So I appreciate that a lot of people wrote in, but it is a very different commitment level to make that commitment to drive here. So that is my first point. I really, really believe that we should have given those people the right to speak. Secondly, I want to put on the record that I do not agree with all of Henry Hyde's positions on all of his platform issues. I don't feel that that's what's important. I do pride myself as really making an effort to work across the aisle and not be a partisan politician. That is my goal. That is why I was elected. Being a DuPage County board member should not be partisan, and I really have tried to emulate that in every decision that I make, every conversation that I have, and everything that I do. That said, a lot of the comments that we got said exactly how I feel, that this is not something that we should be working on right now. Our taxpayers deserve for us to be working on things that matter. And to take time out of all of our days, our staff's days, our constituents' days, to be here to voice pro or con for something that I don't feel should be discussed on the board floor, I think is the wrong use of our time. Also, I did make a comment at a previous board meeting in the last month that I do think that this board has been very functioning. And the more partisan that we get, I do believe that that functionality will erode. And that concerns me. I enjoy being a part of this board, whether I'm in the minority or not. And to fear, like some other members have mentioned, that this is just going to erode into a partisan board that doesn't reach across the aisle and try to work with everyone, because I promise you there are a lot of people on this board that have a lot to offer that are in the minority. I know my seatmate is the vice chair of finance. I mean, the only 3 CPAs on this board are on the Republican side, and fiscal responsibility is important. So that's just one small example of the attributes that we all bring to this board. And I really would prefer to keep this board a functioning, not partisan board. And I believe that bringing this to the agenda has the potential to fracture what has been a great 2 years that I've been serving. So again, I want to reiterate, I'm not voting no on this because I agree with every position that Henry Hyde took, because I don't. I really do not. However, this was a commitment that we made, and I think that we should be spending our time on other items. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Member Ozog.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I'd like to comment that one of the root words of politician is citizen. So I'm proud to call myself a politician, and I'm very proud to represent both District 4 and DuPage County. And I want to reiterate that, again, this was a move to name somebody to this building, which is a court, and someone who was not a jurist 15 years ago. And I personally have heard from many people over the 7 years that I've been on this board that they do not approve that this man's name is on the building for whatever varied number of reasons. But I'd like to reiterate my personal comment that a jurist name, and I understand there's buildings that are not named after jurists, but if you're going to name a court after someone, it should be a jurist who has served respectably as a judge. And one of the comments, this is from Elmhurst. I also want to point out, too, none of us can know exactly what all of our constituents are thinking, short of a referendum. So obviously, anyone who's talked to us either through public comment or through electronic public comment are motivated to do so. So they have a particular interest, but we can't really know exactly what all of our constituents are talking about or are thinking. But I want to point this one out. I strongly support the removal of the name of Henry Hyde from the DuPage County Courthouse. I do not believe it is appropriate for the courthouse to bear the name of any individual, particularly an individual associated with a political party. If our courts are supposed to be impartial, the judicial center should bear no affiliation, even remotely, to a political party. Another one, I'm in favor of removing Henry Hyde from the name from the county courthouse. While I do disagree with what Hyde is most known for, the Hyde Amendment, which disproportionately harmed low-income women, more importantly, I do not believe public buildings intended to be neutral and nonpartisan should be named after politicians. And finally, as a 50-year resident of DuPage County, I believe it is best to remove Henry Hyde's name from the DuPage County Courthouse. Again, this person is from Elmhurst. The courthouse shouldn't be in any single person's name because it has the potential to politicize our county. Thank you. And on that note, I would like to call the question. Excuse me. Member Eckhoff, you have not had an opportunity to speak, so we will allow you to speak, and then he has spoken?
Just for a second.
No, he hasn't. We'll let Member Eckhoff speak.
I'm not going to repeat everything that everybody said, because Sam and Jim said things much better than I could say. I would just say that I was able to talk to Henry Hyde. I knew him a little bit. Thought he was a great man, great congressman, great statesman, very intelligent. I was at Wilton Manor about 25 years ago when he was our main speaker, when we used to have luncheons for the DuPage County Bar Association, and he said he had to bring more money from these meetings now on because we made him the 1,500th member of the DCBA. I believe this is contrived, that this doesn't have to go forward. I've never heard any of the comments regarding this courthouse in the 15 years that I've been on this board. I'm in the courthouse just as much as Sam. People know I'm on the county board. Nobody, not a woman, not anybody else, has said anything to me about the name on this courthouse. And the Richard J. Daley Center is a courthouse, and he's not even an attorney. The Dirksen Federal Building is named after him. We shouldn't have to be going through this, and I'm sorry that we are, because I agree with all of you, or many of you, that we have been getting along better. We have been getting along well as a board, despite the fact that maybe we're from two different parties, and I'm a little afraid that that's going to break down after today. Some people are talking about the people feeling uncomfortable going into the courthouse because of what it's named. I remember hearing the same justification about going into this room when we would give a prayer. People feeling uncomfortable, so there was a movement of when one party in charge now was in the minority that they were going to eliminate prayer from this room. Now that the majority, they don't bring prayer up because I suspect that would be it's been determined that it's a bad issue for them to bring up. So at Henry Hyde's funeral, Nancy Pelosi, who was Speaker of the House, came out to St. Charles along with a delegation of people, and she praised him and she honored him by his presence. And Jesse Jackson, who didn't necessarily agree with him on a whole lot of issues, said that he thought that Henry Hyde was a great man and a great congressman. So people back then were able to reach across the aisle and praise people and recognize that, and that make up what I consider to be ridiculous reasons for having to change this. And I understand maybe making a political commitment during the campaign is one thing, but I think that since that time, and since that election, based upon some of your leadership, which has been good in bringing us together, that this is not going to fall apart. So I would choose to say things at times have changed. We do have bipartisanship, and that we should be working together. And hopefully it'll happen, but it's a bad problem. And one other thing, the government shouldn't put names of politicians and public servants on buildings. Look at half the schools that you have in Wheaton, Glen Ellen, are named after Lincoln, Washington, Jefferson, Monroe. Look at Roosevelt Road that goes to the heart of our county. Look at the Eisenhower, Stevenson, Kennedy, Reagan expressways. It's just ridiculous to sit here and say, oh, governments shouldn't do this. They don't do it. They do it. They do it all the time. And we did it because we did it bipartisan, putting this name on, 3 people on the board. It was, the vote was viewed by the state's attorney's office. Nobody said a word in opposition to it. Nobody from the public came in opposition to it. But today, because this has gone on for a few weeks, and I'm sure a lot of phone calls were made, and get your constituents, and get your political party, and get your little special interest group, and write 10, 20, 30 letters. And then half of them call Henry Hyde all kinds of names. I started to go through it. It made me sick, and so I turned it off. But so if you're proud of that, you're proud that you got your people out to make a bunch of letters that were just contrived, just like a lot of the arguments here today, then go ahead. Go ahead and vote for this. I have to leave, so I don't know if I'll be here for the vote, but I would vote no.
Okay, we're going to end with Member Honig because he did not have an opportunity to speak, and then we're going to go to the vote. Did you want to speak? Okay, Member Honig.
Thank you, Chair. While I recognize and appreciate the contributions of Henry Hyde that he made to the DuPage County Board in the DuPage County area, I must acknowledge the concerns of many residents, particularly women in District 2 regarding his role in the Hyde Amendment. The courthouse is a symbol of impartiality, and its name should reflect an environment of fairness for all. DuPage County is evolving, and while we respect our history, we must also recognize the changing values of our community. As such, I believe it's important to ensure that all residents feel welcomed and heard. I have a younger sister, and I share the sentiment with Member Schwarzy as we all have women in our lives that we care about, and seeing women across the country not being represented with basic health care is also heartbreaking. And like Chair Conroy said, 2 things can be important at once, and what the Hyde Amendment stood for this reason, I will be voting to remove the name. Thank you.
Okay, Member Childers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One of the longest serving board member, whom I respect, once said that votes are not personal. We don't have to hate each other after we vote. He said that we should vote our conscience and then we live with it. We live with our votes. I don't believe in my mind, after working with this board, that we will erupt or descend into partisanship. I still fully well intend to reach across the aisle. I fully well intend to work with my Republican colleagues, and this is just one vote in a number of votes that we will have over the years. And it's an emotional vote, and I get it, and I get there's a lot of passion around Henry Hyde. But again, at the end of the day, this is still one vote. I'm going to vote my conscience, and I'm going to continue to work with this county board, and I don't believe that we should or will erupt into some sort of partisanship where we hate each other because of this one vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Childers. Very well said. I completely agree with you. While we may not agree, I still fully respect each and every one of you and the working my work ethic with all of you will continue. Clerk, please take the roll.
Childress.
Yes.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. Eckhoff. Evans.
Abstain.
Galassi. Garcia.
Aye.
Heather. Honig. Krajewski. LaPlante.
Abstain.
Ozog. Rutledge.
Aye.
Schwarzy. Tornatori.
No.
You. And Zay. Oh, I'm so sorry, Cahill.
No.
My apologies. Ten voting aye, 5 voting nay, 1 absent, and 2 abstentions.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on to finance. Thank you, Member Childress, or Vice Chair Childress. What? Yeah, why don't we take a 10-minute break? Okay, we're going to continue with the meeting, and we're going to move on to finance and member Deacon Garcia.
Thank you, Chair. I make a motion to approve FIR 002225, authorization execution of an intergovernmental agreement between Wheaton Park District and DuPage County on behalf of the DuPage County Clerk for polling place accessibility improvements.
Okay, Member Zay and then Member Desart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, this item I had pulled 2 weeks ago to try to get some information from the clerk's office. Well, we got nothing. Nothing from the clerk's office, no response, no nothing. I did finally see Scott McKay in the hallway and talk to him about it and said, you know, what's going on? He explained it to me. But again, we got nothing. I have the email here from Hyde to them, no response back from the clerk's office. I mean, when are we going to start holding elected officials responsible to this board? We talk about bipartisanship. When are some of you going to stand up and say this isn't right? Because I tell you, if it was one of our elected officials that did that, I'd be outraged and I'd be on the phone to them and saying, you got to respect the board members when they have questions. I mean, this is a simple question at this point. I mean, it should have been answered that day, not waiting. I am glad I ran into Scott and he called me and explained it to me. But again, how hard is this to get a board member answers on an item on the agenda? I don't think it's very hard. Could have been taken care of before the beginning of the other meeting. So I got enough explanation from Scott on this. I'm not going to hold it up anymore. But again, when are we going to start holding some people's feet to the fire around here? Thank you.
Okay, and I share your frustration, Member Zay. Member Desart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just, a point of order, wondering the state's attorney, since we took the break, don't we have to redo a roll call?
We have, yeah.
Oh, yes, we have. Whenever we've taken a break, we've reestablished a
Oh,
roll call.
not since I've been here, we haven't.
All right.
No. Okay. Okay, no, we didn't adjourn. No. Unfortunately, no. Okay, roll call, please.
Aye.
Heather. Yes. Honig. Aye. Krajewski. LaPlante. Aye, sorry. Ozog. Aye. Rutledge. Aye. Schwarzy. Tornatore. Aye. You.
Aye.
Zay. Aye. Cahill. Aye. Childress.
Yes.
Covert. Aye. Desart. Aye. Eckhoff. Evans. Aye. And Galassi.
Okay, Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve FIR 002525, approval of bank depositories for the Treasurer's Office.
Okay, leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve 10C FIR 002625, Second Amendment to Resolution FIR 002824 for the addition of certain specifications, scopes of work for trenchless rehabilitation and maintenance of pipeline infrastructure.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve FIR 002725, acceptance and appropriation of the 211 Illinois Program Grant, Program Year 25, Company 5000 in the amount of $57,000 to enhance the reach and effectiveness of 211 services through services, marketing, and promotion.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
Okay, I need to make an amendment on 10E. I'm going to be pulling the county recorder request for the budget transfer for $59,000 out of that. So I make amendment to approve as amended FIR 002825, budget transfer 21125 for various companies and accounting units.
Oh. On the amendment, we have to vote on the amendment before.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so the vote will be on the amendment, and then we'll go back and vote on the full. Yes.
Second,
I'll second the amendment.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Aye.
Yes.
Not my day, sorry. LaPlante. Ozog. Yes. Rutledge. Aye. Schwarzy. Tornatore.
Aye.
You.
Aye.
Zay. Aye. Cahill. Aye. Childress.
Yes.
Covert. Desart. Aye. Eckhoff. Evans. Aye. And Galassi.
Okay, Member Garcia.
Okay. Now I make a motion as amended FIR 002825, budget transfers for 211-2025 for various companies and accounting units.
Okay, Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
Make a motion to approve FIR 002925, authorization to transfer and appropriate an amount not to exceed $33,000 in additional funds from the general fund to the county infrastructure fund for 501 parking lot security gates for fiscal year 2024.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve FIR 003025, authorization to transfer and appropriate an amount not to exceed $62,000 in additional funds from the general fund to the county infrastructure fund to replace furniture in the family center for fiscal year 2024 surplus item.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve FIR 003125, authorization to transfer and appropriate an amount not to exceed $3 million in additional funds from the general fund to the county infrastructure fund for capital improvements across the county campus for fiscal year 2024 surplus item.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
Make a motion to approve FIR 003225, authorization to transfer and appropriate an amount not to exceed $1,500,000 in additional funds from the general fund to the county infrastructure fund for various facilities management infrastructure projects for fiscal year 2024 surplus item.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve FIR 003325, authorization to transfer and appropriate an amount not to exceed $250,000 in additional funds from the general fund to the county infrastructure fund for the Hidden Lakes Radio Tower for fiscal year 2024 surplus item.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve FIR 003425, authorization to transfer and appropriate an amount not to exceed $250,000 in additional funds from the general fund to the county infrastructure fund for improvements to the DuPage County Historical Museum for fiscal year 2024 surplus item.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve FIR 003525, authorization to transfer and appropriate an amount not to exceed $72,000 in additional funds from the general fund to the local gas tax fund for improvements to the J.R. McBride Jr. Bridge for fiscal year 2024 surplus item.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve FIR 003625, authorization to transfer and appropriate an amount not to exceed $1,500,000 in additional funds from the general fund to the stormwater management fund for maintenance to the Elmhurst Quarry Control Facility for fiscal year 2024 surplus item.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve FIR 003725, authorization to transfer and appropriate an amount not to exceed $1 million in additional funds from the general fund to the stormwater management fund for improvements to the Elmhurst Quarry Control Facility for fiscal year 2024 surplus items.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve FIR 003825, authorization to transfer $1 million in budget to general fund special accounts for campus floodproofing and parking deck rehabilitation for fiscal year 2024 surplus item.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve FIR 003925, authorization to transfer $1 million in budget to general fund special accounts for the vehicle replacement fund for fiscal year 2024 surplus item.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve FIP 000125, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Marsh and McLennan Agency LLC to provide assistance and evaluation of the county's health and wellness benefits for human resources for the period of April 21st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026 for a contract total not to exceed $200,000.
Leave is granted. Thank you, Member Garcia. Animal Services, I understand there's no report today. Development and Member Tonatore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd move approval of DCR 1-25, a resolution authorizing acceptance of the donation of real property located at 22 West 146 Hillcrest Terrace in Medina.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Tornatore.
Aye.
You. Zay. Aye. Cahill. Aye. Childress. Yes. Covert. Aye. Desart. Aye. Eckhoff. Evans. Aye. Galassi. Aye. Garcia. Aye. Heather. Yes. Honig.
Aye.
Krajewski. LaPlante. Aye. Ozog. Aye. Rutledge. Aye. And Schwarzy.
Okay. Member Tonatore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move approval of DC 07-25 zoning 2480, a variation to increase the height of a new shed from 15 feet to 18 feet.
Leave is granted. Member
Thank
Tonatore.
you, Madam Chair. Move approval of DC 08-25 zoning 2482, variation to reduce the corner side setback from 30 feet to 10 feet for a new greenhouse.
Leave is granted. Member Tonatore.
Finally, Madam Chair, move approval of DC 010-25 zoning 2474, a rezoning from B1 local business to B2 general business district.
Leave is granted. Thank you, Member
Thank you, Madam
Tonatori.
Chair.
Economic Development, Member Yu.
No update, thank you.
Okay. Environmental and Member Rutledge.
Thank you, Chair Conroy. I want to read at least parts of this letter to the editor that was in the Tribune on Sunday. It really is response to People's Gas modernization program. But this letter is written by a 22-year-old, and I think that some of the points she made were appropriate for her age. I know that Member Honig notwithstanding, most of us are older and maybe not realizing
for yourself.
that. I'm sorry. I know. So I'll kind of skip through some of this that talks about the People's Gas program, but it says, beyond the financial burden, this program locks Chicago into decades of fossil fuel dependence at a time when we should be investing in cleaner, renewable energy. Expanding outdated polluting infrastructure exacerbates climate change and threatens our future. I'm only 22 years old. I should feel hopeful about the future. The idea of having children one day should bring me joy. Instead, I fear for the world that they will inherit. As I watch greedily companies ravage our earth, I can't ignore the mounting crises, rising temperatures, extreme weather, mass displacement, and escalating political instability. Climate change is no longer a distant threat. It is happening now, threatening lives, livelihoods, and ecosystems. The most vulnerable communities with the fewest resources are already suffering. No amount of money can shield you from natural disasters forever. I'm going to skip that part. Illinois is already falling behind on clean energy goals. As of October, Illinois achieved less than half of our 40% renewable energy target for 2030. Rather than investing in sustainable solutions, People's Gas is set on maintaining a soon-to-be obsolete fuel sector. Chicago deserves a future in which our energy infrastructure is sustainable, safe, affordable, and aligned with the realities of climate change, not one that forces residents to bankroll decades of environmental harm. It's time to hold People's Gas and the entire fossil fuel sector accountable for its reckless overinvestment in fossil fuels and demand a system that truly serves the planet and its people, not profit. This young woman is going to be here for decades longer than most of us here, and we really, really need to listen to the younger generation. Birth rates are falling because of these very things. So that's my comment on environmental issues for today. Next, I'll ask for approval on ENR 2-25, Resolution ENR 225 DuPage County Electronic Recycling Program 2026 Notice of Participation.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Rutledge.
Aye.
Shorzy. Tornatori. Yu.
Aye.
Zay. Cahill. Childress. Covert. Desart. Eckhoff. Evans. Galassi. Garcia. Heather. Honig.
Yes.
Krajewski. LaPlante. And Ozog.
Okay, we're going to move on to Human Services. Member Schwarzer, Member Garcia, will you do the report?
Yes. I don't have a committee update. He didn't leave me one, so we'll move into the items. I make a motion to approve HSR 000425, 2025 to 2029 Consolidated Plan and 2025 Annual Action Plan element of the Consolidated Plan, DuPage County Consortium, second reading, recommendation for the approval of the county's 2025-2029 Consolidated Plan and 2025 Annual Action Plan element of the 2025-2029 Consolidated Plan for the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, Home Investment Partnerships Home, and Emergency Solutions Grant, ESG programs to qualify and receive the Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD grants for approximately $5.4 million annually.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Garcia.
Aye.
Heather. Yes. Honig. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Rutledge. Schwarzy. Tornatori. Yu.
Aye.
Zay. Cahill. Childress.
Yes.
Covert. Desart. Eckhoff. Evans. And Galassi.
Okay, Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve HSP 000425, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to enter into a sub-grantee agreement with Catholic Charities to provide shelter, case management, and financial assistance to situationally homeless residents and at-risk of homeless residents of DuPage County, and to provide financial support for the back-to-school fair for the period of January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025 in the amount of $65,000.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve HSP 00525, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to enter into a sub-grantee agreement with the Garden Works Project to plan, build, promote, and sustain community gardens in DuPage County for community services for the period of January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025 in the amount of $70,000.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
Make a motion to approve HSP 000625, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to enter into sub-grantee agreement with 360 Youth Services to provide case management, housing, job, coaching, preparedness, transportation, educational services, and GED coaching to homeless youth in DuPage County for community services for the period of January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025 for a contract total not to exceed $37,000.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve HSP 000725, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to enter into sub-grantee agreement with Teen Parent Connection to provide car seats, booster seats, diapers, formula, wipes, and car seat safety training to low-income residents of DuPage County for community service for the period of January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025 for a contract total not to exceed $40,000.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve HSP 000825, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to enter into the sub-grantee agreement with Outreach Community Services, Inc. to provide case management, counseling, job training, readiness, work experience, transportation, and GED assistance to low-income youth residing in DuPage County for community services for the period of January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025 for a contract total not to exceed $100,000.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
I make a motion to approve HSP 000925, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to enter into a sub-grantee agreement with Home DuPage, Inc. to provide financial literacy, counseling, and workshops, budget, and credit counseling to low-income residents in DuPage County for community services for the period of January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025 for contract total not to exceed $46,880.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia.
And finally, I make a motion to approve HSP 001025, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to KCI USA, Inc. for rental of wound vac therapy and medical supplies for wound and skin care for the DuPage Care Center for the period of February 24th, 2025 through February 23rd, 2026 for a total contract not to exceed $37,480.
Leave is granted. Member Garcia. Oh, thank you, Member Garcia. Okay, I'm just so used to, okay. Judicial and Public Safety and Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move on JPSP-8-25, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to CDW Government LLC for the purchase of IT office equipment and supplies for the Sheriff's Office for the period of December 1st, 2024 through November 30th, 2025 for contract total not to exceed $300,000.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Evans.
Aye.
Galassi. Garcia. Heather. Koenig. Majewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Rutledge. Schwarzy. Tornatore. You.
Aye.
Zay. Cahill. Childress.
Yes.
Covert. Desart. And Eckhoff.
Okay, Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next, I'd like to move on JPSP-9-25, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Heartland Business Systems for the purchase of IT office equipment and supplies for the Sheriff's Office for the period of December 1st, 2024 through November 30th, 2025 for a contract total not to exceed $510,000.
Leave is granted. Member Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next, I'd like to move on JPSP-10-25, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Polaris Pharmacy Service of Warrington LLC, DBA Contract Pharmacy Services to provide pharmaceutical services and supplies for detainees for the Sheriff's Office for the period of February 26, 2025 through February 25th, 2026 for a contract total not to exceed $680,444.38.
Leave is granted. Member Evans.
Thank you. And finally, I'd like to move on JPSP-12-25, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Allied Universal Technology Services for maintenance and repair of security systems, repair and replace cameras, iStars, DVRs, and access control systems around the county campus for the period of February 12th, 2025 through November 30th, 2026 for a contract total amount not to exceed $244,880.
Leave is granted. Thank you, Member Evans.
Thank you.
Okay, Legislative and Member Desart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In Springfield, the Illinois General Assembly will return to session February 18th through the 20th. February 7th was the deadline for filing legislation for the 2025 spring session. The House passed resolutions condemning President Trump's recent executive orders and other actions. The resolutions, which all passed 73-0, addressed federal deportation efforts, tariffs, rescinding federal funding, January 6th pardons, and ending DEI. Republican members left the chamber and did not vote on any of those resolutions. With committees now organized and the filing deadline passed, lawmakers will focus on committee-level legislation. The governor, by the way, will offer his budget and State of the State address to a joint session of the legislature at noon on February 19th, which is also my birthday if you care to celebrate.
Noted.
The next legislative meeting for DuPage County will be held on February 25th, where we will go over our federal legislative agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Desart. Okay, we're going to move on to Public Works and Vice Chair Childress.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to start with the Heritage Gallery renovation on Tuesday, March 4th at 1 p.m. in the conference room 3500B. We will be having public comment on the Heritage Gallery. Again, I want to make sure that we're not jumping too far ahead of our skis. We want the input of the communities as we start to build that Heritage Gallery that will be long-lasting. Thank you. With that, I'd like to move on PWP 125, recommendation for the approval of a purchase order for Sutton Ford for one 2025 Ford F-350 4x4 super chassis cab with service body attachment for DuPage County Public Works for the period of February 11, 2025 to November 30, 2025 for a total contract to not exceed $78,850.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Childress.
Yes.
Covert. Desart. Eckhoff. Evans. Galasi. Garcia. Heather. Honig.
Yes.
Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Rutledge. Shorzy. Tortatori. You.
Aye.
Zay. And Cahill.
Okay, Vice Chair Childress.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next, I'd like to move on FMP 2025, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Gray Bar Electric Company, Inc., to furnish and deliver electrical and lighting products for the power plant lighting and fixture replacements for a period February 12, 2025 to August 11, 2025.
Okay.
For the contract not to exceed $37,340.32.
Okay, leave is granted. Vice Chair Childress.
All right, and I'd like to move on finally, the recommendation for the approval of a contract to Midwest Office Interiors to furnish, deliver, and install all steel HON and Kimball International replacement furniture for the Family Center for a period of February 11, 2025 through November 30, 2025 for a total contract amount not to exceed $61,149.28.
Okay, and for the record, this vote was on FMP 003-25. Leave is granted. Thank you, Vice Chair Childress. And Stormwater and Member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on SMP 425, approval of a contract purchase order to Dynamic Industrial Services to repair and maintain the catwalk walkway at the Elmhurst Quarry Flood Control Facility from the period of February 11th, 2025 through November 30th, 2025, amount not to exceed $198,000 per lowest responsible bid.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Zay.
Aye.
Cahill. Childress.
Yes.
Covert. Desart. Eckhoff. Evans. Galasi. Garcia. Heather. Honig. Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Rutledge. Shorzy. Tornatori. And you.
Okay, thank you, Member
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Zay. Technology and Member Covert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve TEP 00225, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Environmental Systems Research Institute, ESRI, to provide maintenance and technical support for the county's enterprise GIS software for information technology GIS division for the period of March 9th, 2025 through March 8th, 2026 for a total contract amount of $212,829, not suitable for competitive bids.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Covert.
Aye.
Desart. Eckhoff. Evans. Galassi. Garcia. Heather. Honig.
Yes.
Krajewski. LaPlante. Ozog. Rutledge. Schwarzy. Tornatori. You.
Aye.
Zay. Cahill. And Childress.
Yes.
Okay, Member Covert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve TEP 325, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Excella Inc. for managed application services to provide support with permitting software for the Building and Zoning, Transportation, Stormwater, and Public Works Department for the period of February 21st, 2025 through February 20th, 2026 for a contract total not to exceed $203,674.38, exempt from bidding, not suitable for competitive bids.
Leave is granted. Member Covert.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve TEP 425, recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to BMC Software, Inc. for annual software licensing and maintenance for Mainview Z Enterprise Automation and BSAM File Management Software for information technology for the period of March 1st, 2025 through February 28, 2026 for a total contract amount of $51,130.16, not suitable for competitive bids.
Okay, leave is granted. Thank you, Member Covert. Transportation and Member Ozog.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I move to combine and approve items 21A through E.
Okay, all in favor? All in favor? Okay.
Okay. I move for approval of item 250371, amendment to resolution DTP 0261A19 issued to Burns and McDonnell for professional design engineering services for improvements along Grand Avenue to decrease the funding in the amount of $15,357.19 and close the contract, resulting in a final county cost of $215,017.52, a decrease of 6.67%. I move for approval of item 250375, amendment to resolution DTP 009422, issued to Christopher B. Burke Engineering for professional preliminary engineering services to the East Branch DuPage River Trail to decrease the funding in the amount of $38,039.58 and close the contract, resulting in a final county cost of $168,470.33, a decrease of 18.42%. I move for approval of item 250376, amendment to resolution DTP 033819 issued to AECom Technical Services for professional construction engineering services for improvements along the Gary Avenue Trail to decrease the funding in the amount of $16,513.19 and close the contract, resulting in a final county cost of $331,964.41, a decrease of 4.74%. And I move for approval of 250380, amendment to resolution DTR 013422 issued to Superior Road Striping for the 2022 pavement marking maintenance program to decrease the funding in the amount of $18,786 and 42 cents, and close the contract, resulting in a final county cost of $478,195.94, a decrease of 3.78%. And I move for approval of item 250383, amendment to resolution DTR 039118, local public agency agreement for federal participation between the County of DuPage and the Illinois Department of Transportation for improvements along Greenbrook Boulevard to decrease the funding in the amount of $54,181.42, resulting in an amended total amount of $248,207.58, a decrease of 17.92%.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Sorry, who was the second? Me. Thank you. Ozog.
Yes.
Rutledge. Aye. Schwarzy. Tornatori.
Aye.
You.
Aye.
Zay. Aye. Cahill. Aye. Childress.
Yes.
Covert. Desart. Aye. Eckhoff. Evans. Aye. Galassi.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Heather.
Yes.
Honig.
Aye.
Krajewski and LaPlante.
Okay, Member Ozog.
Okay, thank you. I move to combine items F through J.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Okay, I move for approval of DTP 000725, recommendation for the approval of a contract to Casey Equipment to furnish and deliver one new TAC cart trailer for the Division of Transportation for the period of February 11th, 2025 through November 30th, 2025, for a contract total not to exceed $37,108.40, contract pursuant to the Intergovernmental Cooperation Act. I move for approval of DTP 000825, recommendation for the approval of a contract to National Auto Fleet Group to furnish and deliver 2 Ford Broncos for the Division of Transportation for the period of February 11th, 2025 through November 8th, 2025, for a contract total not to exceed $64,421.08, contract pursuant to Intergovernmental Cooperation Act. I move for approval of DTP 000925, recommendation for the approval of a contract to CIT Trucks LLC to furnish and deliver one semi-tractor for the Division of Transportation for a contract total not to exceed $187,012 for the period of February 12th, 2025 through November 30th, 2025, contract pursuant to the Intergovernmental Cooperation Act. I move for approval of DTP 001025, recommendation for the approval of a contract to GLZ Illinois to provide professional traffic design engineering services for various locations upon request for the period February 11th, 2025 through October 31st, 2026, for a contract total not to exceed $400,000, professional services vetted through a qualification-based selection process in compliance with the Local Government Professional Services Selection Act. And I move for approval of DTP 001125, recommendation for the approval of a contract to FGM Architects Incorporated for professional architectural and engineering services for the Division of Transportation's Highway Maintenance Facility for the period February 11th, 2025 through October 31st, 2026, for a total contract not to exceed $3,330,863, professional services vetted through a qualification-based selection process in compliance with the Local Government Professional Services Selection Act.
Okay, leave is granted. Thank you, Member Ozog. Okay, we are going to move on to discussion about pensions. We don't ever have that. Go on to old business. Do any members have anything under old business? Member Desart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, this is just a curiosity. It doesn't change my vote one way or the other, but I was just wondering, these items came up and went by so fast. So on page 3, I was just wondering, maybe Nick can help out, or maybe Jim. 10M is for 1.5 million for the Elmhurst Quarry, and 10N is for $1 million for the Elmhurst Quarry. So I wonder why these are different. Why not just have one item for 2.5 million?
Two different issues at the quarry. One is the sinkhole, one is the keyhole that's giving way. So there's
Okay.
two different issues there.
So
that's
which
why
one is
there's
which?
split.
Because I looked in the documentation for these
I think
two
so.
items and
I
it did
think
not
the
say.
$1 million is for the keyhole and the 1.5 is for the sinkhole.
And, okay, and the sinkhole could go could go higher than that or lower than that? That's just a holding number?
We just don't know until the engineers give us the report back.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't see anything in the documentation. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else in old business? Member Zay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I'm a little scared because there's only 4 of us left. I know to some of us, some of the comments today, I was disappointed. You know, we had the American Heart Association the other day, and all it was about was women's health. And there are some males still here, but, you know, the number one cause of death for males in the United States is heart disease. And in the state of Illinois, the number one cause of death for males is heart disease. So even our social media posts kind of went into it. I would hope in the future we would be more together on things. You know, since I had a father who had a heart attack and a mother who had a heart attack, it kind of is an issue that, you know, that goes both ways. So I would hope that, you know, I know I'm just scared I might not get out of here today because there's only 4 of us left, but that's okay. You know, I'm going to hopefully, you know, follow behind Sam. They won't beat us all up. But again, if we can do it in just more issue. Okay, Michael, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
And we're more than happy to do that. I think it's National Wear Red for Women's Heart was is kind of the occasion. Because women's heart health has not been acknowledged like men's, but this board obviously is very concerned about both men and women's heart health, so we will definitely do that going forward. Thank you, Member Zay. Anyone else? Okay, new business. Oh, I'm sorry, Member Schwarzy asked me to read. Please don't forget that Friday, if you're available, to come and inflate and just distribute Valentine's Day balloons at the Care Center. It'll be Friday, February 14th, you know, that famous holiday, Valentine's Day, at 9 a.m. Hope my 4 boys are listening. Okay, new business. Member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, a couple things. I want to, first of all, commend Member Ozog for combining items. You know, that's such a great thing. I hope other committee chairs would see that when we have a bunch of items that are all together that could be combined. That would help, I guess, get these meetings going a little quicker.
Okay.
And, you know, I really would like some clarification on committee reports for this. I mean, is it a committee report or is it some kind of pontification on something that happens out there? I mean, again, we all get the emails from the lobbyists, and that's fine and no problem. But again, maybe we should narrow these down to what our committees are doing or what our committee is going to be doing. I said it's great, but just going out there time after time and just saying something, I mean, I don't get it. I would rather it be something that our staff is doing at committee time. All of our time is important here. Our staff's time is important, but again, to just go off, you know, and do whatever. And by the way, most of DuPage County is, you know, serviced by NICOR, not People's Gas. But thank you.
Okay, Member Rutledge.
Point of personal privilege. I think that the environmental chair has to consider all of the things that are impacting our citizens. And I'm well aware that we are mostly serviced by NICOR gas, but I don't think there's a huge difference in the damage to our environment. So I'll continue to make those comments, and I'll ask for my fellow board members' indulgence when I do.
Okay. And I respect that. I mean, you are the environmental chair. I understand there's not a lot of, you know, things that we're going to be voting on about that. And also, Member Dessart is also the legislative chair. So we have to have respect for those chairmanships. Member Yu.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want everyone to know and maybe be reminded of the fact that Karina's bill was signed by Governor Pritzker and is now signed into law, and this hopefully will protect domestic violence survivors and victims further. I was wondering if we could get an update or some kind of information presentation during the Judicial and Public Safety Committee on how Karina's bill will be implemented in DuPage by our judicial system. Actually, somebody from a sheriff's office from a neighboring county reached out to me to ask this question. And DuPage did a good job in preparing and training staff and responding to the requirements stemming from the Pretrial Fairness Act. So I'm hoping that we will be able to do that for Karina's bill as well.
Okay. First, I'd like to publicly acknowledge and thank Member State Rep Maura Hirschauer for her incredible work on that. Member Evans, would you like to, as chair of
Thank you. Thank you, Madam
JPS?
Chair. That is something that we actually wanted to talk about in ISACO for the Judicial and Justice and Public Policy Committee there. So we were trying to learn more. We couldn't get into contact with the actual sponsor of the bill. So I was working on it through ISACO first, and then whatever we get from there, we'll try to bring it to JPS. Thanks.
Okay.
And thank you for being the champion of that.
Thank you, Member Evans. Anybody else? Okay. Then I'm informed we do not have matters before us requiring us to enter into an executive session. I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting. Okay, all in favor? This meeting is adjourned till Tuesday, February 25th, 2025 at 10 a.m.